promised we'd come back.
Yep, that's the
So
prize.
we're here.
Because I don't like to come back.
We don't like to
I'm
go
just
back.
kidding. I'm just
Okay.
kidding. I'm just kidding.
What's up, everybody? Thanks for tuning in for another episode of Your Welcome.
Yep.
You got your girl, the Sherry Life here, and
Malibu Molly.
here we are right here. It's Thursday. Thuggin' Thursday is what I say, Molly.
Yeah, not Thirsty Thursdays. No.
No. I don't know if Thuggin' Thursdays is better than
I
Thirsty
don't think
Thursday.
so.
Either way, God, I'd rather be a thug than be thirsty. Oh, mine.
I agree to that.
Okay. So anyway, speaking of thugging, we do have an episode for y'all today.
Mm-hmm.
This is something that I've been thinking about, pondering about. I've been marinating on. I shared it with Molly. She has some thoughts as well. Today we are going to be talking about drug addiction.
Yeah.
Substance abuse, alcohol addiction, pornography addiction, whatever your addiction is, we're going to be talking about self-medicating.
Yeah.
It's like just really prevalent in the culture, right?
I think it's prevalent in a lot of people. Like everybody, actually. Like even in black culture, white culture, Hispanic. Like I feel like that's something that goes across in everyone.
Yeah, it even transcends age. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, it's not like just a young people thing or an old people thing. It's just like everybody's thing right now. It's so prevalent. And I do want to say that as just being black women, we know how impactful hip-hop music is on the culture, especially since everyone feels so entitled to participate in our culture. We pretty much dictate the culture of the nation, actually.
We definitely do.
Yeah.
Anything from, like, big butts to full lips. You know what I'm saying?
Not that
like,
mine are the biggest.
But I mean, like, people get, you know what I mean.
Yeah, we do. We absolutely do.
We really do. Melanin
Get
is popping.
out. Sorry. You know, the sucker place. Okay. No, but that was real, and it is real, and I know that we're making something light, but it's really serious. And I remember hitting up Molly and just kind of talking to her about how we've really popularized, not just as a culture. When I say culture, I don't mean just black people. I mean as a society. We have really culturalized. We really popularized the new crackhead. It's like a new crackhead.
Tell them what the new crackhead.
Let me tell you what the new crackhead is. The new crackhead is not like the old crackhead. The old crackhead, if your mom was a crackhead, your auntie was a crackhead, your daddy was a crackhead, everybody got an uncle who was a crackhead.
Everybody has that uncle.
Yeah. Oh, he did something.
Yeah,
but you used to be a crackhead, and you looked like Chris Rock from New Jack City. You know, with the white caked around, the crust around your lips, and smoking glass pipes, and behaving and acting out, and you had a bad connotation, a bad reputation. You didn't take care of your kids. You were dirty. You were skinny. You were broke. You were ostracized in society. Right. But I feel like now it's all of a sudden this new wave of if you have a drug addiction, it's okay as long as you have money. As long as you don't look like a crackhead. So it's like you hear all this rap music, because that's predominantly where it dominates. And not just limited to rap music. I said predominantly, though, because you got Malik Percocet. Hey, Percocet. Hey, exactly. You got sicko modes. I be out like a light. Hey, like a light. Now we only know this music for research purposes, but anyway, you have all this music that's trending, and it's basically celebrating the celebrity of being a drug addict and having a real drug addiction. But since you can take care of your children financially, since you can buy designer clothes, since you can be seen with beautiful people or celebrities or people with status or money, all of a sudden it's not a dire issue.
Like, it's okay. And it's still not. Like, mentally, you're not there. Just, it's not okay.
It's not okay.
At all.
Because you're medicating
yourself.
Yeah, for sure.
Self-medicating.
Yeah. And so, this is just, really taking over. And it's crazy, Molly, because when I examine music, because, I remember being, privy to, growing up in the hood and listening to, Tupac and listening to various artists in the 90s all the way through the 2000s and listening to that music. It seems like we went from... It's kind of like the generation before us passed down drug addiction. Yeah. Like the generation before us sold drugs, if you think about it, and the generation after, which is who we are now, we do drugs. And we do them heavy, not in moderation.
Heavy. Yeah. Like lean, all of that.
The lean is the craziest part. Tell us about the lean, Molly.
it's like Sprite and it's like literally medicine and whatever
codeine,
whatever other flavors you could put in there, and people are drinking that and smoking weed
every day.
I'm not even gonna lie, my prom night, which I graduated a long time ago, like I actually tried some lean. When I tell you I couldn't feel my face.
Oh wow!
Like it was crazy.
Yeah, we're like I remember when my grandfather died. Like we were going to his funeral, and when we were leaving it, my cousin at the time, and I thank God every day for his life turning around. And God loving him, and him letting God love him. His whole life turned around. But I remember the day that he was driving me and some of my other cousins, and we was in a caravan. You know, your caravan after the funeral to the cemetery. And I remember him like nodding off behind the wheel and like, you know, slobbering. And it's like he used to be really addicted to codeine. It was like really bad. And I think that it not just limited to him. Yeah. Like it's like this thing now where it's like, hey, as long as I'm geared up, you know, as long as, you know,
I got this perp in my cup.
You know what I'm saying? It's like it's okay, but it's really not okay. I mean, think about it. I told somebody this, and I'm not trying to be funny. I don't care. I feel like, let me tell you about enablers. Can we talk about that for a second?
Okay.
I think the reason why it's so prevalent is because we have begun to enable this behavior, not from a worldview of like, let's ostracize you, but from the worldview of we're not going to help you because we don't see a problem with it either. Oh, yeah. So it's like, I'll mess with a man just because he has some type of status or some type of money, or he seemingly on the surface is okay, but he is addicted to drugs, or he's addicted to lean, or he's addicted to alcohol. So when we do that, we enable, because even right now when I'm looking at music, I feel like on Instagram, and I only use that because social media is the most evident of the behavior, the enabling behavior. We'll literally be trolling these men, knowing they have problems with substance abuse, but we celebrate it like it's okay.
Yeah. I mean, even not even celebrating it, just not even bringing it up to like someone's attention. Like my uncle, for instance, he had a problem with drinking a lot, and everybody knew like he had that problem with drinking a lot. He came from the army. He had PTSD, and since he was just kind of that drunk, crazy uncle, like I felt like no one ever just like wanted to sit there and address him. Of course, he would cuss you out a couple times, but like I don't really feel like he had that support that he needed to survive. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So I just don't feel like we celebrate it too. We just don't even want to acknowledge it. Like we don't want to deal with it.
So it's almost like if we don't celebrate it, we ignore it.
Yeah.
You know, and it's you know, even touching on that, you know, recently Mac Miller, God rest his soul, you know, he died, and it was from an overdose. Yeah. And so when I think about that, I remember seeing comments about Ariana Grande and different, you know, his previous lover, and you know, different people in his sphere of influence, you know, deflecting and projecting blame. But the truth of the matter is, we always want to blame people, but the individual still has to take a hold of their addiction. They have to face their addiction. They have to be ready to deal with their addiction as well. But we always, and I believe that this is the God in us. It's the nature of God that I believe he has given to each and every one of us to want to save. You ever see somebody you want to help so bad, but it's like, it's still their choice, but you keep on interjecting yourself. You keep interfering. I think that's what it is. It's like, all of us want to help somebody, but then we don't know how to put down that God complex when it doesn't go right. So no matter how much I want to help you because of the God in me, it's like I have a limitation that I'm not God. So then when it doesn't go right, I don't have the right, and you know, no one has the right to project that, well, you should have did this, you should have loved hard enough, you should have let them move in, you should have, you know, paid the $5,000 for them to go to rehab, you should have did that. It's like, ultimately, it's the person's decision. So we just have a whole culture of like enabling, neglecting, and blaming. Like enabling, neglecting, and blaming.
That blaming is serious.
It
goes on both ends.
Oh, too. Yeah. You know, and it's funny because me and Molly wanted to bring up suicide while we're talking about substance abuse. Yeah. You remember, like, last year was that string of teenagers killing themselves on Facebook Live. Yeah. Like, the girl would go first, and then her boyfriend would kill himself, or vice versa, and it just really, you know, it's one of those things where I remember reading those threads as well on some of those young people's pages, and, like, some of the parents of the victims that went first was blaming the other kids. And you gotta remember, these is kids, like these are babies, like they 18, 19 years old. And God, rest the soul of your baby who took their own life because they were under the impression that they weren't being loved by their significant other, which they are absolutely too young to have anyway. But I'm just gonna say, we're under the impression of those things because we don't think about the impact. You know how our perception dictates our reality. So if I'm 18 or 17 years old and I'm infatuated, I'm in complete lust with someone and I think I'm going to be with them permanently and something goes wrong, that's going to dictate my reality. That's how we operate. But just to see parents lashing out, to see other adults lashing out at these kids, and then them taking their lives because they feel blamed, I just think that's a really big issue we need to address.
We do. And it's so, like, heartbreaking. Like, it just gets under my skin, especially me.
Yeah. Why is that, Molly?
Just in general, like, I actually tried to commit suicide before, and just thinking about that, like, I took a whole bunch of pills, and it wasn't because, like, I was addicted to pills or anything, but, like, just not having that support when really you do have support. Like, I was just drowned in, like, what I thought my identity, I guess, was, and I had to realize, like, that identity is not my reality. So it just touches hard.
Yeah, absolutely. I've actually also, just like Molly, have contemplated suicide, attempted to commit suicide, and I think that even when we see these young kids, like these babies, like these 8-year-olds committing suicide over bullying, we have to remember that people's perception dictates their reality and they act accordingly. That's something we have to keep in mind, and that's a very serious issue, and a serious matter is the state of our mental health, our emotional health, our physical health, our spiritual health. And sometimes we're affected by our financial health as well. Yeah. The number one time for suicide in the United States of America is around Christmas time.
Really?
Yeah. And so, like, that's just thinking about everything that we're taking in. So, just going back to, abuse, substance abuse, drug abuse, addiction, pornography, whatever it is. I remember one time, like, I had moved into my new apartment and I just had my mind set. I went out and I bought all this paraphernalia that goes with wine. So, like, all the cute wine signs are like, we drink up and wine's better with friends and, all this stuff. And so for my housewarming party, everybody brought me glass wines, and I just had the whole works in the corner. It was like set up to have the whole works, and I just got these new wine glasses. They were super dope. They had all the little different designs on them, and I was setting them up. And I remember I was setting them up in my house, and so it's crazy because while I was setting it up, I really felt like I don't drink recreationally. Like, I normally just drink with my friends if we're at home or if we're out somewhere, but I don't like actually get lit. I don't drink heavy. I don't do that. Majority of what I'm gonna do is gonna be wine. That's what I'm gonna do. But I know that I don't struggle with alcoholism. However, alcoholism is prevalent in my family, and I remember when I was setting that station up, I really felt like the Lord was telling me, Sherry, you don't have an issue with alcohol. Yeah. But it's in your legacy. Oh, wow. And that has to stop with you. Mm-hmm. And I remember, calling my pastor's wife and talking to her about it, and just even exploring that is like knowing that there's an enemy that's after me just because of the legacy of my lineage. And so, long story short, I did throw all that stuff away, and that was money. I just want y'all to know. Yeah, but I did get rid of it because I really felt like the Lord was like, hey, you can drink. Drinking is fine in moderation, drinking responsibly. However, you don't need an altar built to it in your house. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? It's just a principle, and that's my personal conviction. I'm not trying to push my personal conviction on anyone else, but I know that's been a time where, like, the Lord has kind of told me, hey, watch out for that. Be aware of that.
That's crazy. Yeah. I know, like, when my uncle was still alive, like, everybody kind of knew he had the problem with drinking. Like, people didn't want him around because of that. But I loved my uncle. Like, that was my road.
He was funny.
Dog. That was my road dog. We used to eat hot pickles together, steal slushies from 7-Eleven. Sorry about that. I was kidding. But, like, it was just crazy. So I know a couple times, like, that I wanted my uncle to come to these family functions or even just, come hang out or whatever. Like, we sometimes would have like wine around the house or anything like that, but my mom would like purposefully like, you know, put it up or like not have those types of glasses out or just, you know, make preparation for it. So I think that's a big help, like just getting away from that, like if you know it runs in your
not creating a hindrance for it. You know, even speaking of what you're saying, I love the fact that you brought up that your uncle, like, you have good memories of him. You remember good things because our uncle went ahead and passed on. It was last year, right, Molly? Or was
it was the beginning of this year.
The beginning of this year, and it was alcoholism. Like, you know, he had different issues going on with his body because of the years of alcohol abuse.
It turned into like a sickness, a disease.
Absolutely.
Alcoholism is a disease.
Absolutely. And just from my experience at volunteering, there is a place locally here in Kansas City called Hope City. And I remember I spent about 3 years of my life there doing urban missions. It's like off of 24th and Van Brunt, and it is a 24-hour prayer room. It's the second largest food pantry in the city. It's a soup kitchen. It is a rehab facility. It's for the homeless. And we had to live on site with our residents. And I think that the biggest impact that had on me is a lot of times we always associate, like I said, the crackhead with the negative crackhead that we're used to seeing. But the truth of the matter is, majority of the addicts there were mothers and veterans. Mothers and veterans. And majority of them were addicted to prescription pain medicines that have been assigned to them by doctors. And it started off as something so simple because nobody wakes up and says, hey, I want to be a drug addict. Nobody wakes up and says that. But the truth of the matter is, all it takes is like, you know, a broken tooth, a sprained ankle. Even I've been seeing that Travis Kelce is really campaigning really hard about opioid addiction. And the thing about opioids is that, you know, the tramadol is a synthetic opioid, but it is highly addictive. And they unfortunately haven't provided a lot of help for that. But that's like the number one prescription drug that they're addicted to is the tramadol. You can take it in large quantities, like really large quantities, because you get immune to it so quickly. And so just knowing that it's not like these people are, you know, the scum of the earth or in the gutter or like, you know, the Quasimodo from like the Hunchback of Notre Dame. Like these are people's moms. You know, these women have babies. These veterans, you know, have laid down their life for our country and they're homeless and they have PTSD and they're not getting the mental health that they really deserve. You know, and so like when you consider all of that, it is like we all of a sudden don't see a problem with this.
Like it's normal. Now it's normal. It's common.
Exactly.
It's normal. It's not normal though.
Exactly. Everything that's common is not normal. Just because it's prevalent doesn't mean it should be normal. Like it's not normal for you to wake and bake every single day and then wake and bake on lunch and then wake and bake on, you know, before you go to bed. Like at the end of the day, there is something going on internally that you're medicating. And a lot of times when I worked with these addicts, it was always the same story of entrapment. I medicate so I don't feel, but then I feel trapped by my how I medicate. So it's not like you escape to freedom when you're medicated because you know eventually that's gonna be over and that's gonna come down. But at the same time, it is bondage to have to feel like you need to be medicated. So, you know, so it's medication. It's like bondage in and out of medication for sure.
And that temporary feel good does not solve anything. Like you're still hurting on the inside regardless of what you think that you're doing that's helping. It doesn't solve anything. That's why you continue to do it because it clearly doesn't work, right? Yeah. And
so like I just think that, like I said, this is just a really important episode. It's really dear to me. Some of the best human beings I know are abuse substances, you know, abuse things, and it's just the nature of human beings to abuse things. I remember one time during my internship speaking with this young lady who was there, and it's not a funny story, but it kind of is. It's like she was addicted to video games, so she would play World of Warcraft, and it's got like the witches and the Dungeons and the Dragons, and you can create these players with these bodies, and you know, needless to say, she might have been rejected. Exactly. She might have been rejected by society. So, you know, in this game, she would build her like this really stellar body with nice breasts and a small waist and, you know, long hair and nice skin and all of these things. And she would go meet these other players in this World of Warcraft. Oh, and wow. The thing is, she said it got so bad to where she would miss out on family events so she could play the game. And at work and at home, she would not respond unless they addressed her by her World of Warcraft name. Oh, wow. Yes. She said it was so bad that she would not leave her computer. It got to the point she lost her job. She would use the bathroom at that computer. She would defecate, I'm talking about everything, eat, Cheetos, wow. Everything, anything it took not to leave that game. She said she met a man online and she ended up selling her computer to go be with him. Wow. And later on, they got into like a fist fight over the game. I cannot make this up. This is real. And I'm not saying this to ridicule or marginalize, but this is for real. And I think that this was one of those eye-opening moments for me, because I remember calling my pastor and talking to him all about it. And I said, man, all she kept saying is this game is demonic. This game is demonic. And I know a lot of y'all right now are probably thinking of something in your mind where you know somebody obsessed with something to that degree. And you say, hey, well, it is demonic. But I remember my pastor said, the problem is not the game. The problem is her. Because things only have the authority that we give them. Right. So the problem wasn't the game. The game is just a game. The game was going to be a game. Mm-hmm. The problem was her. And so when you think about it like that and you sit back and look at it from the worldview like that, we have to remember that there are voids in us that only the Lord can fill.
Yeah, and we try to fill it with other things. Mm-hmm. And then we just get unsatisfied with it. Yeah. That's where we get messed up at.
Absolutely. Yep. Absolutely. So we're always looking for a substitute. We're always in a deficit. Mm-hmm. I believe that the Lord created us in a deficit. Not that we're not whole in Him. We are complete in Him, but there is something within us that He left, that even the good things He's given us cannot fill. Mm-hmm. Even our children can't fill, our marriages can't fill, our jobs can't fill, our education can't fill,
our wigs can't fill.
Come on, our eyelashes, makeup, you know what I'm saying? And that spot
is specifically for the Lord.
Like, exactly. And I don't think that's a punishment. Mm-mm. I think that's a beautiful thing to know that, we need Him to complete us and we need to respect that. But I think that we also get taught, like it's prevalent in our families to hide abuse. It's prevalent in our families to hide weakness, to hide, vulnerability. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Because everybody's doing something for a reason. They're not doing it for no reason. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Whether it's identity issues, not dealing with the molestation or the sexual abuse, not dealing with the abuse, not dealing with our financial issues, whether we're in poverty or, our parents died early, they weren't around, whatever it is, we're absolutely medicating for a reason.
Yep. We need help.
We absolutely do.
Guess who can help us?
Tell us who can help us, Molly.
Jesus. Wait, you see it in my earrings? Hold on, check me out. Hey.
Yeah, and she's being serious right
I'm
now.
Being so serious.
You are being serious, Molly.
Yeah.
You are being serious. Yeah.
It's real.
He definitely wants to give us a better quality of life. He died so we can live a better quality of life. And I just want to encourage everybody out there who is contemplating suicide, or you are seeking help for your issues and why you're not dealing with your issues, to reach out to a counselor, reach out to your local church, reach out to someone that can help you sort through those emotions.
Yeah, we'll list somewhere in our subscription or whatever, and we'll list give you all that information if you know someone or if you're dealing with it. Because we love you.
We do love you. She said subscription and not description. I'm sorry I had to bring
you know what I mean.
Absolutely. And just let me give you some free game. I remember speaking to a friend recently who has been seeing a counselor and it's really been changing her life. Really? And she said the problem with the majority of us is we always feel like it's or and not both. Oh, wow. So when I say, hey, Molly, how are you feeling today? It doesn't have to be that I'm sad. Doesn't have to be synonymous with I'm angry and that's it. You can be happy and sad. You can be angry and, still feel forgiveness. We are multifaceted people. Oh, wow. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So we need it. The Bible says that the Lord is our counselor. He is. Okay? He is our wise counselor. He's the lover of our soul. He wants to give us His peace. He wants to give us His resolve. You know what I'm saying? So we just want to encourage you guys to let Jesus love you, even if you don't love Him.
Yep, love Him.
You ain't got nothing to lose. Yep. Thanks for tuning in this week. We love y'all.
We love you. Did you pray today? Because if not, we got you.
We do got you. Y'all welcome. Tune in next week. You're welcome.